Shabbat Shalom, everyone. It is Friday morning, just a few hours before the event that on the staff, on the lay leadership in the community, we're calling 30 hours of dedication is to begin. I hope you all know by now the full schedule, and I can't wait to see so many of you through a lot of it. The processional of the Torah scrolls from our field into the sanctuary, starting around 5:15 or 5:30. An amazing moment of Sovev, our in-the-round, musical, rich, harmonic service with hundreds of you, a Shabbat dinner with many hundreds of you, and an opportunity at the service to hear from our architect Steve Reininger talk about the space that we'll be davening in. Tomorrow morning, everyone together. I'll be teaching Mishnah early if you want to come at 8:45, and then we start our services at 9:15 with library minyan and Beit Teinu and Shir Chadash and even our meditation minyan all joining together. And then in the evening, dedication around Havdalah with blessings from members of our community and from dignitaries and from guests. And it's incredible that we're here. And I'm feeling excited. I'm feeling nervous. I don't mind saying I'm feeling a little stressed out. But I love this opportunity to talk to you and share a tiny piece of Torah for you and also for me ahead of this weekend. There's a complex midrash, not in this week's parsha, but appropriate to this moment that I want to reduce into something rather simple. And it has to do with the moment that the Mishkan, the first sanctuary, was finally constructed and dedicated in Parshat Naso in the desert, when the Israelites finally had constructed it and inhabited it for the first time, if that rings familiar and resonant. And through an interesting and complicated tunneling through verses, the rabbis tell the following story. That right after God created the universe, heavens and earth and water and animals, the greatest desire that God had was to be present in that. You create the earth, you want to be in it. And God wanted a dira b'tachtonim, a dwelling place down in the lower places. That's us. That's where we are. And God started to descend and was close to being on the ground with a dira b'tachtonim, an earthly residence for the Holy One. When the sin of Adam and Eve, enticed by the snake, happened in the desert, in the garden, God moved up a rung. And when Cain killed Abel, God moved up a rung. And after disappointment and sin, God's presence was as far away from the earth that God had created that you could imagine. And even God, as it were, in this midrashic imagination, was doleful about this, sad that God couldn't be in the very place that God created. And at some point, the pendulum began to shift, and Abraham showed his faith. God came one rung down. Yitzchak reached out to the Holy One, and God came down. Jacob dreamt God and said he would build a place on earth for God, and God came down. And the culmination is when the Mishkan is finally built, Vayehi kechalot Moshe, when it was that Moshe has finally completed, put that last nail in in the temple, the sanctuary, the first one we had, that God was finally able, for the first time since the creation of the universe, to have a dira b'tachtonim, to have a dwelling place on earth. Listen, it's a fanciful midrash. Most midrashim are. You have to suspend a little bit of disbelief to understand what the rabbis are saying. And what the rabbis are saying is that it is our obligation in both physical structure and emotional and spiritual structure to bring God in and close, create for God an incubator for divine presence, or, God forbid, to distance God with our sins and our miscues and our mistakes and our omissions and our slips of the tongue, no matter what space we're in, whether in a beautiful sanctuary or not. I'll be speaking a little bit more about this tomorrow, and I invite you to come. And I want to both celebrate this extraordinary structure that is truly beautiful on every artistic level, and celebrate even more the obligation that is upon each of us, myself included, to not rely on the structure alone to be the diraba tachtonim, the earthly inhabitant, earthly palace of God, but to rely on ourselves and our deeds and our mitzvot and our kindness and our compassion, our commitment, our devotion. That is what will bring God down. That is what will allow God to dwell in our new sanctuary as God dwelt in that sanctuary. And I am excited and nervous and ready for that task, particularly because I'll be doing it with all of you. I'm going to say Shabbat Shalom for those of you who just want the drash, and those who want to linger for a meditation on top of that, please do. So to all of you, Shabbat Shalom. And if you're still here with me, thank you for staying. I think a few of you do, and I appreciate that. I want to ask you to do what I'm about to do, which is to close your eyes, wherever you are. You might be in your home, you might be in your office. I know from speaking to you that some of you are in the hospital. Some of you are ill. But if you're hearing this, it means that your ears are working and your mind is working. And we can use both of those things to bring us down into a deeper place. Ask that you sit comfortably but alertly. Your hands gently on your legs, feeling that point of contact with both feet on the ground if you can get into that position. Some of you may not be able to if you're lying down in a hospital bed. Feel the sensation of what happens that first time you kind of put your body and mind into sleep mode on a computer, except it's not complete slumber. A tingling, perhaps a light pulsing or throbbing. Aware of the sounds around you, but knowing that they are irrelevant to this moment. And I want you to use all the powers of the imagination that you have without rejecting anything that comes into your mind. Just let it be. To imagine the presence of God. It is so hard. We're supposed to not envision a divine with a face or a dimensionality. But it's very hard as a human being to not give some structure to a concept. So whether your image of the presence of God is impacted by a movie here, or a philosophical text there, or just the imagination, just conjure it. Conjure it up, because that's where our minds go when we imagine the Holy One, even though God is everywhere. And in the universe, there's no up and down. We imagine it up, far, distant. Imagine a presence of God that is undulating, hovering in the supernal realms, somewhere between the first and the seventh rung of heaven, which is how the rabbis of the Midrash and the Kabbalists understood the structure to be. Almost like a jellyfish in water, moving, pulsing, reacting to every deed, every devotion, every mistake made by us down here. Closer, farther, more intimate and in, more distant and untouchable. And draw a line between you, your one unique, soulful you, and that presence of God, like a kite, attached but far away. You can reel in, you can let go. You can bring close, you can push away. Watch that movement in your mind. and know the power that you have for God in your life and for others in your life. To use your words and your time to send away, to banish, and to embrace, and to hold close, and to hug. May this be a Shabbat of drawing close, of karov, between us and the Holy One, between us and one another. When you're ready, you can open your eyes. And I say Shabbat Shalom.